It's me and Stocks, and I finally found the record button. It's been a while, fellas, since we did a show. I apologize. Let's get this out of the way. I apologize first because we might be a little bit rusty, but we're gonna try to turn out the best quality we can and get back on a regular basis. It's just been a crazy week for both me and Stocks. I think I can speak for him and say that. You know, and the fact is we don't get paid for this, although we do really like doing it. So we're gonna do it as often as we can. And I think the most important thing, Stocks. Remember, I was on vacation last playoffs, so we lost a lot of playoff coverage. I think it's best to be a little lenient at this time of the year than miss the playoffs again. So hopefully we get some better time schedules or things work out. But if we can bring you better playoff coverage, that's really what I aim for.
Yeah, if the guys are looking for it, we'll definitely bring it. You know what I mean? And
yep.
If both of our schedules work, we're gonna break it all down all the way to the Super Bowl, like we really like to. You know, we both have a firm grip on this on the league now. So now I think if we can just look over the matchups and break it down more. I mean, we can give a lot more, statistics and predictions and outcomes. Everything.
Well, we saw Manny did a video today. Alex always does the mock drafts. People are really proactive in this league. And talking about proactive, the Jets told me he wants to join us in the offseason to talk about the Jets and the draft and the free agent plan and kind of, a synopsis of his season and, what direction he wants to take the team. And I told him he's all but welcome to join the show, like, anyone who wants to join the show. I encourage everyone to watch the Manny video. It was quite interesting, and he got to show off his Aaron Rodgers jersey and had some fun with that. So it was actually a good listen.
Yeah, definitely hats off and kudos to Manny stepping up and trying something different. I mean, it was funny. I mean, I was cracking up, and
yeah.
He had good aspects of it, and yeah, it's great.
Yeah, he did a really good job at adding some entertainment value, and he really gave you some good information. And I enjoyed it. Just like, I mean, that's the key though. If you don't enjoy what no one gets paid. This website's paid for. If we're not enjoying it, what is it for? Talking about enjoying, I bet the Rams are enjoying this week pretty particularly. Or I guess it was last week because we just advanced the league. But the Rams got his first win of the season. And that's great because we only had 3 games left when it was played, and he hadn't got a win all season, and so now he won't break the Lions record of going undefeated. So that's good. I mean, you never want to see that. I mean, I went through it in real life. It sucks in real life, and I only imagine it'd probably even be worse in Madden. The truth is, Stock, somebody's got to lose though, and this guy's done a lot of it. It's nice to see he's on the right side of the scoreboard.
Yeah, he probably sees and knows finally at the end of the season what his holes are. As the season went on, and hopefully can do well in the draft and free agency and turn the season around.
Yeah, I mean, he's got some good pieces, and I don't want to say I don't know if you saw it, but he on one of the I think it was a game report that they were talking about the game between C-Mays, the Vikings owner, and the Rams. And C-Mays is a really good player. He's top of the division. I think he's only lost twice. And he was giving the Rams kudos for, keeping up with him. And I play this guy twice a year. Just being in the realm or being, in the category of beating this guy is quite an accomplishment. And this guy was giving him, quite good praise. So even though he's, and he was having a horrible season and losing all these games, he was still putting up tremendous fight. And it was interesting. A bunch of the gridiron gamers kind of picked him up after that loss, and we gave him some tips and tried to encourage him on some things. And we told him to run the ball with Steven Jackson, and he did that. He didn't do get a touchdown or runs for 300 yards, but he gave Steven Jackson, I think, 20 carries.
Yeah, that's definitely a good start. That's the bell cow of that team.
Yeah.
You need to use that boy. You know what I mean? He's the horse, and just pound him into the ground.
I think that was the most carries he gave him all season. So, it's nice that he showed he was able to learn because we were giving him this advice that he could have just blown off and said, I'm going to do it my way. He was open to, suggestions, and he gave him more carries, and, he got the win. I think he only had like 77 yards or something, but, when you give him the rock, we always talk about running the ball, giving your motorboat back carries. It kills the clock. It kills momentum on the other side. There's a lot more advantages of it than just how many yards did he get or how many touchdowns did he score. So that was nice to see from my end. What would you tell the Rams though, going forward? If you were gonna help them out, like code GM or come in.
Yeah, with him, not knowing his team very well, if you're losing games, defense of line is huge. You need to have that defensive line really strong and big up the middle. I mean, and I think we both know that. We've both gone back,
Yep.
Years of talking about that, and just that core of line. I mean, yeah, he's got Chris Long rated 90 at left end.
Yeah.
His next defensive tackle is an 84. That's not bad. And Justin Brannon, and then Fred Robinson, 81. A little bit old in the age, and just build from the line, and then the cornerbacks. His first cornerback is rated at 79. I mean, I think teams are just going to attack. 82. Brandon Fletcher are just going to attack that weak spot, and if you can just disperse it a little bit better in the draft or free agency, that's really going to help you because it's really hard to pick on something that's decent. You know what I mean? If you have decent at each spot versus one major weakness, I think a lot of good players are just going to attack that.
Yeah, I agree. I think I think he's got to learn. Maybe, but you mentioned a lot of needs. You mentioned corner. You mentioned beefing up the defensive line. Maybe is he in a situation where you take the best available guy in the draft?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
Yep.
That's what I would tell him too. Take the best available guy because, I was looking at this draft and I haven't completed. I'm working on when me and Stacks really break down the draft. We'll have the full stats and we'll have the full things. But right now, all we had is the ratings, and I was giving it a quick look before we did the show, and the defensive players are kind of deep, but this kind of isn't the best, the best draft. But there's some, definitely some good players in there. Offensively, I think is where it lacks. Defensively is where it picks up. But like we were talking about, that's where we think he needs the most help. You got Sam Bradford. I'd hang on to him. Don't do anything drastic, unless you're gonna get, a blockbuster deal. I hang on to Bradford. I hang on to Steven Jackson. I think he's got a pretty good offensive line, and a young offensive line. So I hang on to all those guys. And any other guys you like. I mean, don't get me wrong. You're the owner of the team, so if you like somebody more than another guy, keep him. But I definitely keep the franchise pieces. Now, is this a team you think is a couple years out, or maybe they get a stud corner, or a Ndamukong Suh type, defensive end or defensive tackle or end for that matter, and it's like right there in the push because we know that division wasn't usually too tough, but the 49ers kind of surprised me this year, only losing I think 3 times.
On the Rams side of the ball, you can't, at a 1-13 record, it's kind of hard to look long term. You kind of have to look short term. If he can, just get to 8-8 next year, that'd be a great goal for him with the pieces he has. His stats is he's ranked 32nd in the league for points scored. So that and yards. I mean, he needs to be able to move the ball more. Basically, try to find something with his top players that can really, get those first downs and move the clock. You know what I mean? Move the ball downfield and keep that clock moving. So yeah, it's kind of hard to go long term. So
And
yeah, 8-8 would be perfect for him next year.
yeah, and again, that's probably him on the phone telling me something another, but we'll give it one more ring here. Maybe. The point is, when you're losing a losing season, you can't look at the negatives because there's already enough negatives. You already know you lost. My number one thing for him is like you said, take little things and try them. Right now, what we got, like 2 games left, 1 game left, something like that.
Yep.
Depending on if he split it tonight or not. Try new things. Open a playbook that you never thought you'd use. Try, if you run a 3-4 or a 4-3 defense, why don't you try a 3-4 just for the heck of it? This is kind of there's nothing to lose, so try new things. Try more screens with Steven Jackson, or maybe line them up in the Wildcat. You never know what's gonna work. I found a defense mid-season and I stuck with it, and I pulled 3 wins, when I thought maybe I'd be in the same boat he is. So, you can't be afraid to try new things, and you got to take small victories when they come, If it's just, I'm going to give Steven Jackson 25 carries the rest of the season, and you aim giving him the ball 25 times, and, you still lose, but you give him the ball a lot of times, and he was productive. I mean, that's a goal. Winning might not be, obviously he doesn't have that great a team right now, so winning might not be in the realm right away, but you got to take the small victories when you can. And definitely winning your first game is a great great accomplishment. No one wants to go winless the whole season.
And just to state, Steven Jackson, he only rushed the ball 141 times this year.
Yep.
He should be well over 250 yards attempts.
I think he's learning that. I mean, like I said, I think he only had 77 yards in that game, but he did have 20 carries, so maybe he's slowly starting to come onto that.
Yep.
I think
it starts with that.
I think a lot of times he was probably down in a lot of games and thought, I probably should pass. But the thing with Steven Jackson is he's got that speed and strength combo. And the only thing that's ever slowed Steven down in probably the 5-6 years he's been in the league is injuries. If the guy is healthy,
he's as talented as Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, if he's healthy. I mean, that's the only thing, really. And depending on actually how you like your running backs, he could be as talented, or even. I think he catches the ball out of the backfield better than Adrian Peterson. So actually, if I took a healthy Steven Jackson and a healthy AP, not saying one is better than the other. It depends on your style, but they're right there, 1 and 2 if they're healthy, I think. So it's good to see him win. It's kind of an odd part of the season because you got guys like me who aren't going to make the playoffs, who are still playing hard. You got some guys who, we talked about it, we won't really get to it much, but we got some guys who obviously believe in, kind of pack it up, try new things. I don't care if I get a better draft pick if I lose. Then you got guys who, are still fighting for a lot of spots. And I think Manny talked a lot about the playoffs in his little video, so we're not gonna cross over his toes too much. We're gonna let him have his playoff talk because he really did a great job on that. You guys should listen to that. And I really liked it. So I want to cover some other stuff. More of the teams that probably aren't gonna make the playoffs. I thought that you lost to the Buccaneers, and so did I. And in the beginning of the season, the Buccaneers didn't look like anything special. And all once he starts racking up wins, he figured something out, something, clicked. And he won, he's 6-8 right now. He could finish with a winning record, or, go 8-8, which is a pretty good start where he began, because I think he began 0-6, 0-7, so he's rattled off some wins lately. And what do you think about his game? He's definitely improved.
Yeah, the Bucs, like we've talked about before, is a good all-around solid team.
Yep.
like you said, definitely he's found something because something is working and he's finding his groove. I mean, he's beating good teams. He's beating the Jaguars. He's beating the Redskins. He's beating the Lions. He's beating the Saints. So he is just finding his niche. He's playing. He's got the Texans up next, and then the Saints again. And it's good. It's good that he's found this niche in this tough NFC South.
Yeah. I think it's a tough division, like you said, and I think he'll be a player, but I think it could be a switch and a swap and that kind of thing in the division every year. You never know who's going to win it, which can be great. And honestly, I'd rather have that because it kind of motivates you to get better. I mean, if you're at the top of the division and you're always winning it, you're not pushing yourself, you're not learning. So I'm the competitor that wants to win a division than have an easy cakewalk to the playoffs, because it doesn't the season doesn't really matter, Stocks. It's all about the playoffs. So if you're not challenged in the season, if you're not in a hard-nosed division, the likelihood of you getting bounced is pretty high. I'd rather be battle tested, have the battle scars, if you will, and make sure my team's ready for the playoffs. So I want to give some of these playoff teams some love. I just beat the Chiefs, and they were fighting for a playoff spot. So I think they're probably done, maybe, in the playoffs, which really is a surprise. Because remember, we put this team in neutral. Then we said, well, they're going to be all right. They're going to, and then they rattled off some wins. Yeah, they got some big wins, in fact. And we thought, oh, this team, they're definitely going to the playoffs now. Let's take them out of neutral. And since I beat them, they're 8-7 now. And
Yeah, it looks like the Chiefs are going to be fighting for that last wild card spot because the Bengals are going to get the first.
Yep.
The first wild card at 10-4.
Yep.
And now at 8-7 with the Chiefs, you got Jacksonville at 8-6, and you got the Bills that aren't going to make it at 6-8. Oh, you could have the Dolphins also. So yeah, it depends how the AFC comes out.
Isn't it crazy how this league every year consistently since we started it has came down to the last 2 weeks of the season?
Of course. That's the way. That's the players we have, and that's the way it's gonna be.
Yeah.
I thought the Patriots at 4-10 be last in that division.
I find it remarkable. And I find it quite awesome because you have to play the games. You don't ever know who's gonna win. There's some big games right now. Jacksonville's got to be nervous. Young Alex, we talked about him and how excited we were, for him because we saw that potential, right out of the box when we first met the kid. And if he gets to the playoffs, it'd be a good accomplishment for him. And he's got the Ravens, so it's no easy task. What about Blaine Gabbert this year? Just putting up remarkable numbers. I want to go back and give you the exact numbers on the board so I don't get it wrong. But you remember Tom Brady's, I'm sure you know because you're in New England.
Oh, yeah.
And in the area, his touchdown record for the season was 50 touchdowns, was the NFL record. Blaine Gabbert's sitting at 43 touchdowns.
Yeah, but he's got a high of 37 picks.
Yeah.
I
So
don't think Tom Brady had 37 picks that year.
I don't think so. I think if Randy Moss was thrown to Tom Brady, they wouldn't have had 37 picks. No offense to Alex, but you want to say you broke Tom Brady's record of 50 touchdowns? Well, yeah, you did, but you also
you set the INT record too.
Yeah, you'd be chasing that Brett Favre, for that kind of record too. So it is. That's the honest truth. Why I don't pay too much attention to stats and why they never really interested me because
Yeah, especially by the end of the year, you have a couple games that weren't really sim and they kind of get ballooned. So you see some of the stats and you kind of know.
Well,
was it truly sim play or was it I don't know. It's just sometimes those stats just get to me at the end of the year where I go, oh my gosh, come on, really?
I know what you're saying, and you know everyone's pointed out you know the Dolphins, you know, for his sack total. I think Alex told me today he had like 70 some sacks for the season and for his team. And you know the thing is, I don't know if that's him or not. I don't play him. You know, you don't play him. You know, we don't get enough AFC love. I mean, I don't know if Alex has played him this season or not. We don't. The thing is people don't call him out on it, so he must be playing. You know, I'm not gonna say he's not playing Sim.
No, I'm not saying he's not playing sim, but it's just not realistic stat
Yeah,
for the NFL. So it makes me kind of laugh when I see it on Madden when they try to really emulate Madden to the real game.
and the truth is we'll never get there. So we're gonna have these blown up stats. That's why they don't really appeal to me, because if a team had 73 sacks and he was so good on defense, he's
No,
doing
he's got 33 sacks this year.
but one guy's got 33. I'm talking about the team. I think.
Oh, the team. Okay.
Yeah. So one guy has 33. That's probably that's close to my season total. I think I have 35 going into tonight's game, and so I probably have 40 sacks going into tonight's game. The guy is like 5 under me for having my team's total in sacks. You know, again, I can't call him out on anything. He hasn't been called out on anything, so you got to assume he's playing within, we'll say, Madden sim rules. Because I think Alex helped me out again with this stat and told me that only team to ever come close to that kind of stat total in real football was the 85 Bears. So, you know, and I'm not going to call him the 85 Bears because he obviously, I think, you know, he's having a winning season, but he's not, you know, having a dominating, you know, type Giants season. Yeah, his record's 7-7, so as dominating as he is with the sacks, you know, he's obviously got some holes. Let's see, where's he gives up in defense. He gives up he's 23rd in pass yards and 24th in total yards. So he gets some sacks, and you know he obviously drops you for some losses, but you know he gives it right back. So is that a good defense? You know, who knows?
Yeah, it's just another thing when you look at the sack leader. You know, Cameron Wake's at 33. The next guy, Julius Peppers and Jared Allen, are at 17 and 18.
That's why we've talked about don't tank for one guy, because stats don't mean anything. You know, you can never predict a thing. So guys like the Rams, you know, you could win the Super Bowl next year. That's why we all start at 0-0. And to me, the score is the only thing that really matters. What about moving on? What about Manny? He's probably going to go to the playoffs now at 10-5. I know you hate talking about this because this is your first losing season, but you know losing to a guy that's 10-5 isn't horrible. You know what's remarkable is I'm looking at his Manny stats, and as much as we tease him about the trade and all these things, we have to give him love when he deserves it. This is remarkable to me. He was 5-2 on the road so far this season. That's not a home stat, you know. That's he was 5-2 going to other people's stadiums, and he wasn't going anywhere easy. He was going to the south. He was going to the north. I mean, that's two really tough, places, divisions to play in. I know you haven't had the season you wanted to, but you know you're still top notch, player. And when he comes into your place and beats you, do you think he's a Super Bowl contender?
I'm not a Super Bowl contender yet, but I believe he can make a run. The one thing I found is that he's definitely become more balanced.
Yep, I found that out too.
He's definitely taken his defense up a little bit. You know, he's kicking it up a notch. I mean, he's just playing all around smarter gameplay versus last year. So it should be interesting to see how he does, because he's got some weapons and he has the experience. So yeah, he could make a run.
Yeah, he's definitely. That's the first thing I noticed about him, and it's not about who gets the touches. I mean, sometimes Starks gets the touches, and sometimes his rookie gets the touches, or even sometimes he just hammers it in there with Kuhn. It's not about To me, it's not about the yards he gets rushing. It's about how many times he runs the ball, how many attempts, and that shows the defense that you're going to be balanced. I mean, you got to honor that as a defense. And before, I think he was just trying to force it with Aaron Rodgers because that's his guy. He was trying to, do it too much, and now he's kind of found that consistency, and consistency means balance to me. If you can't run it at least efficiently, then you probably aren't going to pass it very well either.
He's given Starks 252 attempts this year, and he's averaging 5 yards a carry. I mean, that's awesome.
Well, I'll say this about Manny. If he isn't a Super Bowl contender, fine. But whoever plays into the playoffs better not sleep on him either.
Oh yeah, you're gonna have a tough game against him.
Because we said it. He's played one of the toughest schedules this season. He played the Vikings, who's only lost, I think twice. He played, your division, which you can speak of how difficult that is. I mean, you were really good last year, didn't really have a lot of changeover, and you're 6-9, and I think all those losses were, difficult ones. He's got the Bears, so he's had some battles and he's lost some, fights, but sitting at 10-6 is nothing to laugh at. Now, what we found remarkable, we talked a little bit about Blaine Gabbert and how he's thrown so many interceptions, kind of like Brett Favre, but then, he's thrown so many touchdowns. Does that philosophy work in the playoffs? You think?
You better not turn the ball over in the playoffs. That's the key.
That's
when you make it in the playoffs.
That's my thought too.
I think one turnover is like 2 turnovers, basically.
Well, you know what happens in the playoffs? It's usually bad weather if you're playing in, place like Lambeau, which, obviously the Jacksonville Jaguars don't have to worry about it, but I'm talking more a wider variety. Now, anyone, it could rain in Jacksonville, it could snow, in Lambeau, So when you talk about these weather being a factor, you especially can't turn it over. You got to kind of play small ball at that point. And I'm not sure the spread it out, the run and gun type, will really work. We'll see, but I'm not discounting, Alex, because every time he looks about out is when he does his best. The kid's never really had a good start to the season. It's always last minute, he puts a bunch of wins together. So I guess we can't count him out, but now the Falcons are probably going to win your division, correct?
Yes.
So, do you think they're dangerous in the playoffs?
Yeah, they could be, but it just seems, they're the high-flying team, pass first, run second, so, yeah, they could definitely make a run, and it would be definitely a good matchup between, the Falcons and the Packers. I mean, that'd be a great game.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see that, and I think the odd thing is Manny's going to play him in the last game of the season, Week 16. And if they play each other Week 16 and possibly in the playoffs, I want to ask you this question, and ask for your analysis. Do you not show your playbook? Do you kind of rest your starters? Maybe you take Aaron Rodgers out of there, Maybe he does the same with Julio Jones and Roddy White, And
if the game means nothing for the next week, and you're going to play that same team, I would have my punter as my quarterback. You know what I mean? I just wouldn't have anybody on the field, and I wouldn't show anything.
Well, they could possibly be fighting, I think, I might be wrong here, but for the home field advantage if those two teams met, because the Falcons is 10-4. So if he loses to the Panthers this week, which anything can happen in this league, Manny's also 10-5, so they could be fighting for the best record and possibly home field, maybe. But I don't know. I've never been in this situation where you get ready for the playoffs, so that's why I was asking you. I would, especially with Matthew Stafford, a guy like that, I would definitely rest him. I'm for resting starters. You don't want injuries, and especially with Madden, it's not like real life where you can kind of limit the amount of pitch count. You never know when an injury's coming, and this game can be crazy. I'm not taking a chance. And I lost Stephen Tulloch for the year. He made one tackle. I lost him first game of the year. After that, I learned my lesson. You don't take any chances on injuries. Could you imagine if he lost an Aaron Rodgers or the
Oh,
Falcons lost Matt
oh man.
Ryan or his explosive tight end, who I think is garnered his most of his success. I mean, that's like losing to Calvin Johnson, Drew Brees, which you unfortunately lost for a few games this season. So you know how it feels to
Exactly.
lose a star. It's not something I would play with now. If you feel there's something to play for, obviously it's your spot. I didn't earn it, so go ahead and do what you will.
Best of luck.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I'm gonna ask you a question now. Let's play some what if.
I love this. What if? It's probably the best game we have.
Well, if you were the Cowboys, what do you do? What if you could wipe out the season, keep the same roster, okay? Play it all over again. Do you think he underachieved, or did he it, did he just run into a buzzsaw with this division? He's not talented enough, or he didn't have the right pieces. Let's say, what if he could start over the season? Do you see the same record? He's 3-11, which I found. I mean, I know he's not the greatest passer, but he's probably one of the best running teams in the league.
Well, if you're one of the if you're he's ranked 18th in the league for rush yards. You know.
I think he's better than that. I really think it came. A lot of people know that he was struggling in the past, especially early, so they were stacking the box. I mean, he was probably rushing against 9 or 10 or 9 or 8, guys in the box. That makes it a lot more difficult to run. I just think, what if we could give the Cowboys a mulligan? Is he a 3-11 team, or do you know?
No, he's definitely not a 3-11 team with the players he has. Um, I mean, Felix Jones is a good, solid, all around decent, back.
Yep.
I don't know if he can carry a team, but he's definitely, he's kind of like the James Starks type. Can do a little bit of everything good. The defensive side of the ball, you still have DeMarcus Ware, so you have a bridge gap there with a star player.
And I've always liked Newman. I thought Newman he has so much talent. Sometimes he doesn't play up to that talent, but he can cover anyone in the league. I think it was just a bad season, not kind of a fluke season. Now, what if you could trade Drew Brees? Would you do it? I know he's been injured some. I know you've had your frustrations with him.
Anything's a possibility at this point for the Saints.
What would be fair market value? Because it's really hard to move a guy, especially when you look at probably his cap hit. I mean, you're probably going to pay, I would guess, $15 million to move him. Maybe.
Yeah, it would definitely involve a first round pick and a top notch player.
Yeah. Because you have to rebuild somewhere, so you have to get that draft pick to draft another quarterback, or it has to be a franchise quarterback. You're bringing in.
Yep. So that's probably the market that it would hold.
There was a guy named Archie Manning who really likes the Orleans area, and he's got a son up there in Indianapolis that might want to come play for the Saints. Just saying, they're hometown boys. You might want to fly old Peyton out there and give him a try. But if you could get, it'd take a deal like that. It'd probably take the Colts first round pick and Peyton Manning or a second round. It'd have to be a big deal. You aren't going to trade him for Jake Locker and a first round draft pick.
Yeah, exactly.
There's very few teams that could actually probably afford Drew Brees. is there anything you want to ask me, kind of, because the season, we can't really break it down week by week. The weeks don't really, I mean, it comes down to these last 2 weeks, and really, we could talk about it till we're blue in the face, but it's all up to the players at this point.
Yeah, no, I think the next couple of weeks we'll just watch and keep our eyes open and then see how everything sets up. But in all, getting away from the actual team, the games and stuff, how is the league this season with the gameplay and everything that's going on been versus last year's? Have we gotten better, or have we gotten worse? Are we kind of staying still? Do you think the owners are kind of all settled in now and got the feel of this league?
I think so.
And, does it feel like we're where we're supposed to be and where we're at?
I think so. We obviously started later than we wanted to. We had the whole lockout situation, that thing, and if you remember when Madden first came out, rosters were just shredded. They weren't even close to being assembled how you'd want to open an online league. So we had to wait for that, and we had to build this league back up to 32 owners, and we had a conflict, and we had lots of conflict at times, and then we had some drama at times, and then we had a little bit of both. And it was kind of sickening, to be honest with you, at times, and even I'm to blame, at certain moments. But we overcame that, and I think that's what good leagues do. And, we kept 32 owners for pretty much 2 seasons.
Yeah.
And that's an accomplishment in itself. And I think we're only going to grow. And we were talking about maybe doing an NCAA league, because Alex is a big college guy. So maybe we follow that over, we avenue into the college game. Runner was talking about how everyone is always looking for a second league, but there's no good sim league, so maybe we open a sister league. I mean, I think there's always room to improve, but I'm really happy with the league, how it's set up now. There's always spots or things that come up. Maybe there'll be drama tomorrow that I said we've been pretty much drama free for about 2 months, and now I'll say that and I'll jinx it, but I think this league is probably the best Madden experience I've had in a while.
Yeah, the league is very set up really right now, and it's just running perfectly smooth. I think, yeah, of course you're gonna have your little quarrels or whatever, but that's nothing, because what we have is 32 owners, and it's nice to see teams come out of nowhere and put together good seasons and stuff, and it's Manny's vision has done it. This is what it's all about.
Yeah, and I think it's guys like you, or it's guys that don't get Runner, the Cowboys owner. He's 3-11, but he's a lot more valuable than his his season stats, or his record, because he's the one who runs most of the numbers on the XFN website, the Extreme website. He's the one breaking down the cap. He's kind of our cap expert.
Yeah, hats off to him, definitely.
So, but we're growing. There's even guys saying we're gonna maybe go on the podcast in a few weeks, and how long we've avenued for that. So maybe we're maybe we're growing that way. So there's always room for improvement. But this league, I think, by far is the best one. I want to say, is there any surprise team this year that you think could make a real serious move? A la the Bucks, C-Mays gave me a good compliment a couple weeks ago. I know it's been a while. I almost beat the Vikings, and I definitely would have had a chance on an onside kick. I touched the ball, he dove on it. It didn't roll into my hands, it rolled into his hands. He thinks maybe I'll be able to challenge for the division. I'm not sure about that. I mean, I'm not about to go that far. But there's the guys like me, maybe the Bucks, maybe the Rams gets that first pick and gets a real dynamic corner piece. Is there anybody that challenges and pushes somebody out of the playoffs?
As of right now, for next year.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? Well,
yeah.
You have to look at a team like the New England Patriots that are 4-10, the Super Bowl champs. the Oakland Raiders at a 4-10.
Yep.
And just those two teams like that, like you said, Oakland can come back next year and just win it all next year. With a 4-10,
And you
4-11 record if they lose.
Yep.
So
those
are the teams that you would have to definitely keep your eye for.
And you know it, because last year, if you asked me, we would have never said that the Raiders would have won the Super Bowl. Never. And he did. And this year,
yeah. So you have to give that guy, the kudos to what he did with that team.
And then what we said. Well, he's definitely got he's definitely got the gameplay, and he just doesn't got the talent. Wait till he gets the talent. And then this year's been a disappointment. So you never know with this league. And I think that's the great part. And that's why I don't mind, if I only win 3 games or 4 games, because I could lose 4 games, this season, and win 4 games this season and only lose 4 games the next. You just never know. The competitiveness really makes it fun. And for the most part, everyone usually stays relatively similar. I mean, I know there's a few instances that really we don't need to, dig back up. You can look at the archives if you really, wonder what we're talking about. But really, this league, for the amount of games that get played and how quick they get played, we play 2 games a week. We do quite well with the pace and how fair games usually get played.
Yeah, we were actually talking. I was wondering if we can get 2 more seasons in, and it looks like that. Alex came up with the theory of a season takes almost 2 months.
Well, what's great is we've been a little bit early recently on the advancements, especially on the weekend advancements, like coming out of the Sunday, and then we advance on Wednesday. We're almost where we can advance a full, maybe 2 days ahead even. Tonight we advanced a couple hours ahead, but a couple hours mean maybe somebody can play a day earlier, That stuff adds up. Where we're really going to make up some ground, and maybe we can even play 3 or 4 more seasons, is the playoffs.
Yep.
If we can get through the playoffs, I mean, I'm not rushing anyone here.
No, we're not saying that.
If you have to play your games on a certain day, have to make, whatever, push the deadline, I want the playoffs to be played the most authentic way possible. I mean, the playoffs are special. That's what they're made for. And it just gives me and Stocks more time to break them down without, pulling out our hair. But if we can get our playoffs done sooner, that's more playoffs, that's more games, that's more, and the fun continues. Now, obviously, I'd rather play 4 great seasons of Madden than, 5 rush seasons or 6 rush seasons. But if it happens, I mean, I'm all for it.
Yep.
Now we're back, and I'm just starting a new segment here, and I'm gonna, we could wrap it up right here. We could keep going. I've led most of the show, so I'm gonna let you kind of steer it. Do you want this? Do you want to talk about the draft yet? Do you want to talk about playoff teams? I'm gonna give you the floor one more time to see if you want to wrap anything up.
Yeah, we can we can talk about how teams finishing up this year with a somewhat of a losing record. Let's break down. We're gonna go AFC, and we'll just say like the New England Patriots, a 4-10 team this year. Okay, you have the centerpiece in Tom Brady. He's a Brady 99 overall. He's 36 years old. He's got the stud tight end. He's got the stud wide receiver in Wes Welker. Ocho Cinco is an 86. We don't know how that is, but it is. Looking over his team, with the amount of players he has, almost kind of like the Philadelphia Eagles when you shake your head when you see the players.
Yep.
What more can they... How can you make a team better when you already have these types of players on your team?
Yeah.
I mean, the New England Patriots, 99, 95, 95, 92, 91, 86, 86, 85, 85. I mean, you almost have a full starting roster with 85 and above players on the field. And it's almost, okay, you're going to have some retirees, who knows. But how can you make that team change from a 4-10 record or a 4-11 record, turn around when you have already those types of players? It's the theory of what can you do.
That's the whole thing to me. That's why exactly the point I've been trying to harsh, since I started playing Madden. It depends on your style, your playbook. Those are the things you change during the season. Those are the things you work towards. Trying to tank for a certain guy in the draft, I don't do that because it doesn't. You can have all the star players you want, and surely they help. I mean, having Aaron Rodgers be 90 or whatever he is versus Chad Henne for the Dolphins, say, you know, there's certain moments where Madden obviously gives Aaron Rodgers the Madden luck, if you will, because of his rating. But there's also times where it doesn't matter the rating, you have to play well. And if you're tanking, you're not learning how to play well, you're learning bad habits. And I hate to go back to this, but it's the whole thing is one player doesn't make a team. It's about your play call. It's about how conservative you are. It's about how aggressive you are. And different things, do different things for different owners. You know, if I'm conservative and you're aggressive and we switch teams, I don't know if I could run the team as the same as you. And I think it's more about how you run a team and what you call in certain situations, situational things more than overall talent. If I'm wrong, that's fine. That's just how I think. Someone else might think differently, and obviously, they do because people. If it's a high 80 or 90, they pay high dollar free agent market. They pay out the wazoo. But to me, it's about philosophy and formation more than it is talent. It's about putting the guys in the right position. Because the guy can, like Michael Vick, because the guy can run, okay, he's a weapon. But if you never run with him, you still have to put the players in position to make plays. You can't just assume because they're a 90 at pursuit they're going to get 20 sacks, a season. You still have to call the right plays to get those sacks. So to me, it's about play call. It always will be. I mean, obviously certain players help, certain formations and that kind of thing, but it still comes down to you calling the plays. I hope I didn't confuse
Yeah, no,
anyone there.
that's a good explanation. It's
good.
just those few teams that I look over, and even my team. I can definitely see like, wow, like if you have these players, why aren't you performing? And that's a good theory.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you've been playing too conservatively with Drew Brees, and you've been throwing 5 picks. So it looks like you're playing more, too aggressively. But maybe you're thinking about it too much and not letting it fly. And so in reality, it looks like you're playing too aggressively, but maybe you're playing too conservatively, or maybe it looks like you're not taking as many chances, but you're throwing deep balls like the Houston Texans do, for example. And he's throwing more interceptions than it looks like because he's got a winning record. I'm just saying these are two different, ideas. Just because something looks like, what Drew Brees has 96, short accuracy. Just because he has those stats, he doesn't always put it on the mark when he throws to Jimmy Graham in the flat or, You learn these things as it goes on, and that's why I think every year, you have to adjust your game. Now, what I find interesting is this matchup right here. Now, this could be a complete blowout. It looks one-sided, as one-sided can be, and that's the Rams and the Giants. And I'm really looking forward to seeing this game, and not just for because we know that the Giants are heavily favored in this game. I mean, if we were in Vegas, the lines would be incredibly stacked in the Giants' favor.
Yeah.
But here's what I look for. Does the Rams try something new? Does he try a new playbook? Does he completely, does he put James Laurinaitis at defensive end sometimes, Does he, use Jake Long as a linebacker, or Chris Long as a linebacker sometimes? I mean, now these are things you wouldn't normally do, but he's out of the playoff race right now. He's experimenting. It's almost like you're running a preseason tryout kind of thing, How when you carry a bunch of backs with you, So I don't know. that's just my idea of it. I really want to see how this game turns out.
Yeah, no, like you said, the Rams should definitely, play his hardest and take what he gets from that game against the Giants and use it as a learning experience and just see how the Giants, do things almost, see how he handles, gameplay and stuff.
And it almost ties into what we were saying, because most likely the Giants probably might be going and resting his starters, So you might see a lot more backups. But again, it's not about, oh, well, he's got this guy in, Jacobson instead of, Bradshaw. It's still, what does he usually do? He's still going to call the plays he's comfortable with. He's running it with different people, but, you can still learn from that, and that's important. I'm just looking at some of these matchups. We talked about Dallas being underachieving, Well, he's got a chance to, maybe right the ship a little bit, and pick up a win. He's facing the 49ers who are 11-3. He's 3-11, Maybe he can prove he wants to flip-flop the records a little bit, So even for the losing teams, there's still stuff to fight for. Now I'm going to say, what if you could choose between the Cowboys or the 49ers roster for next season?
Who would I want?
Yeah.
49ers.
49ers?
Yep.
See, I say I want the Cowboys.
Yeah, see, I wouldn't mind having Patrick Willis and Frank Gore on my team versus Colt McCoy and
Ryan Fitzpatrick?
Yeah, exactly, yep.
Yeah, but you got Alex Smith and maybe Kilpatrick. I think he's got a rookie like Kaiser or
I'd
something.
still take Vernon Davis over Jason Witten.
You see, because I know Willis is better than DeMarcus, but in Madden he's not that much better.
No, he's not. No.
He's really not. He's really not. So that's kind of even to me. He's got some nice young wide receivers there. I know he traded Des Bryant. I like the run game better with Murray and Jones than I do relying on injury-prone Frank Gore. I don't know. That's interesting, the two philosophies. I take, the Cowboys, Stocks takes the 49ers. I wanted to ask that question because they have flip-flop records. But comparing the talent, we just did it. They're pretty evenly matched, so it comes down to one game, really. I mean, no one... At this point of the season, you're either in the playoffs or you're fighting for the playoffs. And so the record, it matters, but it's almost like a shrink version of the record, If you got to win 2 games to get in the playoffs, you got to win 2 games. It doesn't matter if you won 8 games this season. It comes down to this 2 games. So it's, And the best thing to do for a losing team is to prove he can win next season. And the best way to do that is to beat a playoff team. And you know that. So, name some Super Bowl favorites for me. Some guys who one guy who could surprise you and one guy you expect a lot of this year. Kind of the guy who needs to put up and shut up and make it to the Super Bowl and make a big run, and the guy who's maybe people will be sleeping on, not giving enough credit to, that really can make a run.
Well, the team that surprises me that could definitely make the run are the Denver Broncos. 10-4. He wasn't there last year. Our team that we were talking about, and the team that you beat today was the Chiefs, that I really thought could make the run.
Yeah.
His playoff is slipping by slowly. The Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be the team that he's won before. Can he do it again? He's a solid player. We all know about him. I mean, he's 8-0 at home. He's 5-0 in the division. That's awesome. Can he really take the whole thing this time?
Well, the guy I look for to win it, the guy who's the odds-on favorite, if you ask me, is the New York Giants. I think, and I'm going to go in the same division as the Steelers, but I'm going to go the opposite way for my surprise team. The guy, no one's given this guy any love. I don't think no one really gave him any love last year. and that's the Cincinnati Bengals. Everyone's fighting for a playoff spot, and that guy goes out and he proves it week in and week out and says, you know what, I can't catch the Steelers this year. He might have beat me in some divisional games, whatever. I'm going to go out and lock out one of the spots. And when you lock out one of those, divisional spot or the wild card spots, that's almost like winning a division in this league. And I think a lot of people are sleeping on the Cincinnati Bengals. He runs, he throws, he's really got a nice balance. And that's my surprise team in the playoffs. I'm not even going to pick a pretender in the playoffs because everyone in the playoffs deserves to be there. But like you said, the team that really got to figure it out, if they make the playoffs, I think the Jacksonville Jaguars, they got to get better on defense. I mean, if you're going to be in the playoffs, you got to get better on defense if you want to compete.
He's let up 555 points.
Yep. He's got to get better on defense. Got to, slowly take that interception rate down. I know he's got a lot of touchdowns, and that's probably because he takes a lot of chances. But those 50-50 balls have to go more in your way. Or you got to start playing more conservatively. You got Maurice Jones-Drew. Now,
he's the only team that's let up 500 points on defense in the league.
Yep. That's a lot of points. I mean,
that's a lot.
I mean, he's obviously got an explosive, offense, and he takes a lot of chances. And when they pay off, it looks great. But when they don't, it doesn't look so great. So, he's got to find balance. Like you mentioned, the Denver Broncos, I don't think no one's talking about them. I think them and Cincy are really, really good teams. Whatever happened to the San Diego Chargers? He seems to be he's like the bipolar version of this league, I swear. He's up and then he's down. He's up and he's down.
It just seems like he can't find he can't find the gleam, as one of the old coaches used to say. He's just not finding his groove and putting victory after victory together to maybe take a run at that division.
Yep. Well, I think that's we gave him a lot of info. We gave him a lot of stuff, and obviously it wasn't our best show. Maybe we were too critical on ourselves. I think we got to knock off some rust. We'll get it knocked off before playoffs.
Oh, definitely.
Consider this. We were resting our starters. We were resting our vocal cords. We were resting our our good information. We were kind of preserving ourselves for the playoffs, if you will. We don't want any injuries either. But stocks, I have to say though, in one of the leagues I was in, Aaron Rodgers had a broken ankle out for season. I'm just saying, Manny, be careful. I know you got Flynn, and you probably, being a Packers fan, believe a lot in him, but Flynn or Aaron Rodgers, I wouldn't want to roll the dice in the playoffs. So, for the playoff teams, that's a decision you got to make. Good luck with that. That's one good thing about not being in the playoffs. I can kind of go out there and just fling the ball around and learn some new things. And, obviously try to get in the playoffs next year. But for now, I'm just going to bring you playoff coverage. And hopefully, maybe we'll get another one up before playoffs. If not, playoff coverage coming, draft coverage coming. We got some special guests maybe lined up. So keep it coming, guys. Peace out from me.
Peace.